Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about two very important topics. And one of those topics is going to be about Sergi Roberto and Sergino Dest. It has been said very recently that Sergi Roberto is going to be coming back into the squad list, and we are going to be discussing on how this could benefit Sergino Dest. Then in the next topic, we are going to be talking about Frank Lampard's sacking. This is a topic that I was not going to be talking about in today's video, but I do believe that after what we have heard on the reasons on why Lampard was sacked, it is something that we do need to discuss, because I do believe that there is massive lessons to be learned when you do have a club legend coach your club. And it is also going to be regarding Xavi Hernandez and FC Barcelona. So there is so much to discuss, but we are first going to talk about Sergi Roberto and Sergino Dest. And it says here, according to Javi Miguel, Sergi Roberto is very close to getting the medical green light. At best, he is expected to be in the squad list for the league game against Bilbao on Sunday, if Koeman thinks he isn't ready for Wednesday's Copa del Rey game against Rayo Vallecano. And it's great to hear this, right? We did expect Sergi Roberto to return in the beginning of February, but reading this, it is really telling us that Sergi Roberto has been recovering very, very well. And let me tell you, that is a huge deal for Barcelona, because Ronald Koeman has been greatly needing an alternative to Sergino Dest, and that alternative could be Sergi Roberto. And there has been speculation on what's going to be Sergi Roberto's main position under Ronald Koeman once he does return. There was speculation that he could be playing as a central midfielder, but I do believe that because of what we have seen with Sergino Dest and seeing how badly he has been overused over the past 2 or 3 months, I do believe that Koeman is going to be wanting to use Sergi Roberto as the alternative to Sergino Dest. And that is why Koeman has been counting on Roberto to come back as soon as possible, because now that we are here, Dest has been missing from the squad list since that match between Athletic Club and FC Barcelona. Now, he was included in the squad list in the previous match, but I believe that Koeman himself thought that Dest was not ready. And I do believe that ever since Sergi Roberto has been missing from the squad list, not only did it affect Ronald Koeman's choices within the starting 11 and the depth of this squad, but it also did affect Sergino Dest himself. And something very interesting has been going on very recently regarding this player, because I don't know if you guys remember, but before Dest did encounter that injury a couple of days ago, Dest was not playing at his absolute best. Dest was playing very average. There were moments where he was losing the ball in the final third area. There were moments where it did take him a lot to recover the ball as soon as possible. And so there was some struggles before he did encounter that injury. And then a couple of days ago, Dest did have an interview, and he did explain that he was encountering some confident issues. And he said this, and I quote, "For me, it's important to get the confidence back because I feel a little bit unconfident right now. That's the most important thing for me right now, to get the confidence back up and play like I used to play, and then think that I do have a lot of potential." And that does raise a lot of questions. What could be the reasons why Dest did lose his confidence before he did encounter that injury? And one of those reasons could be because he did set the ceiling extremely high for himself. When he first came to Barcelona, he did play world class. He was taking on players, providing goals, providing an assist. The praise was extremely high coming from the fans for this player, and Dest knew exactly what he was doing. And the other reason could be because the more you play, the more mistakes you are going to be committing. And as a young player, when you do commit mistakes on the field, it does sometimes affect you and get to you and puts you in a position where you are going to be pressured to continue to deliver at a very high level. And that high level was set extremely high in the beginning of the season. And so when you do make these mistakes, it does harm your confidence in a way. And I do think that that is why we have seen Dest perform in that way before he did encounter that injury. And that is where Sergi Roberto does come in, because I do think that Sergi Roberto is going to be taking some minutes away from Dest that in a way is going to greatly benefit Sergino Dest, because there is going to be moments throughout the rest of this league season where Dest is not going to be benched because he is injured. Dest is going to be benched at times because Koeman is going to be wanting Sergi Roberto more than Sergino Dest in certain matches. And that is where everything kicks in, which is the confidence and the motivation to get yourself back up, because as a young player, you do not get competitive alone. That has never been historically proven in football. As a young player, you do end up competitive when you do see a player wanting to be better than you in your position. And Sergino Dest has been needing that in the past couple of weeks. And so there is going to be a lot of pros regarding Barcelona's depth when Sergi Roberto does make that comeback, and especially for Sergino Dest's progression as a player. And so regarding Roberto for this week, I don't necessarily want Koeman to rush Sergio Roberto because he is a very important player. He is still a player that does provide massive value to this club. And so if he's not ready for this match on Wednesday against Rayo Vallecano, I do highly suggest to just wait on it and have Sergio Roberto play in that match on Sunday next week. And now I do want to go on to the next topic, and that is going to be about Lampard's sacking with Chelsea. And so yes, it is official that Lampard is no longer the coach of Chelsea FC. And after coaching this club for 1.5 years, there is so many lessons to learn from Lampard's term with Chelsea. And let me tell you guys, and again, this is very last minute. I was not expecting to talk about Lampard and the sacking with Chelsea in this video, but as I was reading on the reasons why he was sacked, I do think that this is very important to talk about and have the conversation within this video, because one of the moments that is going to be coming up in this year, whether it's 2021 or 2022, is going to be the hiring of Xavi Hernandez as the coach of FC Barcelona. Yes, Xavi Hernandez is going to be in a very similar position to what Lampard was with Chelsea in 2019. And after seeing what happened between Lampard and Chelsea, this is showing us on the possibility of what could happen between Xavi Hernandez and Barcelona. Now, am I saying that there's a great possibility that Xavi Hernandez could fail with this team? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there's a possibility that it could go out in this way. And again, seeing that we are in the beginning of seeing so many players that we have seen on the field become coaches for their clubs, events like this and conversations such as these just have to be talked about in a video. So here's the thing. When it does come to Lampard's sacking with Chelsea, it did come through a multitude of reasons. It was not just based off results. The majority of the reason was because of the results, but it was not the only reason on why Lampard was sacked by Chelsea. But I do want to point out two very important lessons that I believe is going to greatly benefit Xavi Hernandez when he does come to Barcelona. And one of them is going to be about the relationship with the members of the club. And according to The Athletic, they have stated that these are going to be the reasons why Lampard was sacked. It was because Lampard's relationship with the influential director Marina Granovskaya has deteriorated. The other reason was because Ralf Rangnick was offered an interim job last week for 4 months but turned it down. Following up with another reason was because the calls were made in recent weeks to sound out Leipzig Julian Nagelsmann before the deal was struck with Thomas Tuchel. Going on to the fourth reason, it says here, Leicester City's game was the tipping point and morning after spent trying to finalize a successor. It continues to go on and it says here, Peter Cech was involved when talking to the agents of the Stars as the form was dipping for Chelsea. Some players complained about the lack of tactical instructions and not being spoken for months. Then there was a desire from Frank Lampard to resign Declan Rice, which did annoy his bosses. And so you can see that there was so much tension going on between Lampard and some of the members of this club. There was also calls being made behind his back, something that we have heard before within this Barcelona club. And you can almost get a sense that Lampard was very isolated with the project that Chelsea was trying to build in this club. And I do think that that is going to be key there, because the very last thing you should do when you do bring a coach, let's just say for example Xavi Hernandez coming to Barcelona, is to isolate Xavi Hernandez from the members and the project. You want to be a unit when you do bring a club legend back into the club as the coach. But with Lampard and Chelsea, that was not the case. The members were thinking one thing while Lampard was thinking another. And I do believe that that is the reason why Victor Font has explained that Xavi Hernandez is going to be becoming the general manager, or given the maximum control on how he wants this Barcelona team to look like and what players to scout for. And when you are given that amount of control, according to Victor Font and Xavi Hernandez, usually when the club does dip in form, Xavi Hernandez will know and he will be discussing along with the other members. Or if calls are going to be made, Xavi is also going to be knowing and discussing with the members on what's going to be the best position this club could be in and the best option going forward into the future. Because again, when you do give the coach the total control, you are going to be removing all of the tension that does come along with it. And the other key point that I do want to talk about is going to be about how the owner of Chelsea spent 200 or more million euros on the players in the last summer. I do believe that that is the main reason why he felt so hesitant to sack Frank Lampard. Because here's the thing, right? Let's just say, for example, you invest so much money on all of these players. You invest 150 million on a forward and 200 million on a center back. Knowing that you have invested so much funds to get the best results in the Premier League, even a goal being conceded from your defensive line is going to really irritate you. And seeing that Chelsea has greatly dropped their form, seeing how Chelsea are positioned in 8th within the Premier League, that is the reason why the owner of Chelsea gave Lampard no time, is because he did have that emotional attachment towards the investment that he has made in the previous summer. And I do think think that what could have delayed the sacking of Lampard and Chelsea is if Lampard did use many of the youth players coming through the Chelsea academy, because then you're not going to be having any money attached towards those players. The owner is not going to feel the tension of sacking that coach because you have invested so much funds into a squad. And I do believe that that is what makes Barcelona very, very special, because this is a club where they do not necessarily have to make big signings once Xavi Hernandez does come in, whether it's in the summer of 2021 or in the summer of 2022. Those big signings can come through the Barcelona academy. And I do think that if Barcelona do go through that route, if they do rely on Barcelona B or Juvenil A to strengthen the first team, that pressure or that tension coming from the president or the owner of Barcelona is not going to be existing if Xavi Hernandez brings very average performance into this Barcelona team within the first 1 to 2 seasons. And Barcelona will feel much more comfortable moving forward with Xavi Hernandez into the next season. And again, going back to the Chelsea and Lampard situation, that was certainly not the case with Lampard. There was so much money being heavily invested within this team to the point where the owner did feel the pressure to sack Lampard as soon as possible, because he said, wait a minute, this is not going well. I invested all of this money. We need immediate return as soon as possible. We need this investment to speak back within the first 1 to 2 seasons. And under Lampard, it doesn't look like it's going to be going in that way. But that's going to be my first few thoughts on Lampard sacking with Chelsea. Again, I was not planning on talking about this in today's video. I am just going along to what I'm reading so far on ESPN's website. And keep in mind, I do think that this is going to be the worst case scenario Xavi Hernandez could encounter in Barcelona. I do think that if Xavi does come in with Victor Font or Laporta, who I know are going to come in very properly planned and execute this very, very well, Xavi Hernandez is going to be delivering great results for this club. And seeing the sacking between Lampard and Chelsea, there are so many lessons to learn from and what not to do when you first bring a club legend back into a club. But that's going to be it for today's Barcelona Daily News. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new here, welcome to the channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys in the next video.